Well, UNAMID has been here for more than 1 decade now. And all along we have been consumed with the task of protecting civilians, doing patrols, making sure that they can go about with their livelihoods. Like, for example, accompanying women who are going to collect wood outside. These women were in the past attacked and some of them raped in difficult times. And so it was our duty to protect them as they go about in their livelihoods. But also the IDP camps that we have are all basically really under the protection of UNAMID. And so this is what we have been doing. Now, during this period of transition, what we are focusing on is what can be done together with the government of Sudan, because that entails the transition. That will talk to issues such as joint patrols where it is feasible and it is possible. The kind of work that we do with the police in particular, the kind of institutions that we put in place like courts, like police stations and so on, so that the government of the day is able to have close proximity to the people. And then of course, because this is happening in those areas together with UNAMID, which many of them are accustomed to, that would also tackle the issue of the deficit of trust that we spoke about. This is a process. We don't have much time. We have until December to do that. There have been areas where we have been removed completely as part of our drawdown, like West Darfur and Nyala and so on. And we have come up with a very creative concept, which is what we call the State Liaison Functions. What happens there is we've created a little unit which puts together the government, people from the government of Sudan, the UN country team, and UNAMID, and perhaps in our capacity, in the capacity of providing expertise, we can then be in a position to do so in various areas, particularly even in those areas where we are not featuring, we are not there, we have been removed physically. We are focused mainly in what we call the hotspots, which are largely in Jebel Mara, where you still continue to have a lot of conflict. Some of the conflict from the very armed movements that are fighting, some of them are fighting internally amongst themselves, and you have a very serious problem that leads to displacement of personnel in those areas. And so we are involved in there. We still accompany and provide security to humanitarian agencies that go to these areas where you have this conflict. Now, with the situation as it is now, we have the pandemic, the COVID-19, although our focus is really peacekeeping, but we've been drawn into that. We've had to assist as much as we can the Ministry of Health, provide some of the assets that we were going to give away anyway, vehicles and the generators and stuff like that. And in addition, as if it's not enough, you do have in situation now the crisis that they are facing because of the floods that we have recently witnessed. And of course, we are drawn into that at the state level, at the federal level, in different state level areas, in North Darfur, in South Darfur, everywhere. And so we help as much as we can because we see this, in a sense, as a continuation of our protection of civilians. So protection of civilians is not just the physical protection of the military, but is also protection to ensure that the lives of these people is easier so that they can put up with the problems that they've had that has been imposed upon them by the conflict and the pain that they have endured throughout all this period. First, let me say we need to congratulate the government of Sudan, transitional government of Sudan, the armed movements that were very persistent, that had the political will to see this through. It's not been an easy challenge, but I think they recognize that there is a space created after the removal of Bashir, a space created to be able to resolve the conflicts peacefully. The war has been raging on for too long, and the people have suffered as a result. We have about almost 2 million displaced people in camps who have seen and known nothing except pain and serious conflict. Bashir was in power for about 30 years, and throughout that period, any child who was born there, a 30-year-old child, has never known what it is to live in an environment of peace. And so indeed, this creates an opportunity, a space for all these people who have been fighting legitimately for the rights of their people to take up this opportunity, to ensure that, by the way, the revolution, in my understanding, is not just about fighting, it is also about seizing opportunities. And here is one opportunity where you can continue to represent the interests of your people without a bullet being spared, without killing life. And so, we must also congratulate the South Sudanese, I think, because they were able to do something remarkable. The South Sudanese were able to complete a process that has been going on for more than a decade now. People have been trying to resolve this. And I think they had an advantage. And the one big advantage they have is that, you know, these are all brothers, and they were able to sit down as brothers to resolve all these issues in an environment that is conducive, that you can only find among siblings. And they did it remarkably, and they have been able to do that with all the skepticism that was there. Nobody thought the South Sudanese would be able to carry us, to put us to this level, a level of a bright future possibility for Sudan, past the pain and all the suffering of the past. We can only encourage, you have asked me specifically about some of our brothers who are fighting, Abdul Wahid and the others, and we can only encourage them to join this. This is an opportunity. We recognize that their struggles, of course, were legitimate. They were fighting a regime that was oppressing and disenfranchising people and so on. Now they have an opportunity to sit down as Sudanese as a whole, to look in the totality of all the problems that have emerged in the past and resolve them. I must also say that the agreement was done very wisely. They tackled in the peace negotiations practically the day-to-day problems of the people. What about the IDPs? Their possibility to return to their land of origin? What about the conflict that is ensuing, that is still continuing, the intercommunal conflicts of the nomads and the herders, or if you like, some people would want to say of the Arabs and the traditional tribes on the ground. What about all those problems? How do you resolve all those problems? They dealt with problems such as the power sharing, the wealth sharing, adequately, such that I am sure when that peace agreement is put there in front of the people, and even those who are still skeptical about it, the advocacy is done, they will be in a position to understand that really indeed this is representative of what they have been fighting, and therefore no need to continue fighting in the manner that we have been doing in the past, but only really the one route that is left is to ensure that we join and make sure that this peace is everlasting, that the prospect for development, for prosperity for Sudanese is much larger than when we are not there.